Welcome to Bedtime Stories with Pastor Michelle. I am Pastor Michelle. And tonight's, we're going to start out, today is, Wednesday, July 1st. And our woman of the day that we're going to hear about will be Katherine Johnson. And so, I know that was a backwards view. Katherine Johnson, who is the pioneering NASA mathematician and physicist. And actually, I think that the Hidden Figures movie might have been made about her. Sorry, I was just thinking about that title, Hidden Figures. Still working on my sermon. Anyway, let's hear about Katherine Johnson, shall we? And I know everything's kind of backwards, but all right. So, Katherine Coleman was born in 1918 in a small town in West Virginia, the youngest of 4 kids. Her father, Joshua, worked as a farmer, lumberjack, and handyman, while her mother, Jolette, was a teacher. Katherine couldn't wait to start school. She was brilliant with numbers, and by the time she was 10, she was in a class with 14-year-olds. This was especially impressive because at that time, most African Americans had to stop school at age 13. Her father wanted his daughter to have a better future. He moved the family so she could go to the very best schools. She finished high school at 14 and graduated with highest honors from her university at 18 before she began work as a teacher. She wanted to keep learning though, and during a time when most American schools and universities were segregated, she was chosen to become one of the first 3 black students to be offered a place in West Virginia State University's post-grad program where she specialized in math. But Katherine soon left to have a family, and she and her husband, James Goebel, had 3 little girls, Constance, Jolette, and Katherine. When the girls were older, she found out about a program at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics in Langley, Virginia, which later became NASA. She started working there in 1953, and her new boss, Dorothy Vaughan, immediately saw that Katherine was special. Katherine was chosen to calculate the trajectory, the path of a flying object for Alan Shepard, the first American astronaut in space. She worked on the flight paths that took the Apollo 11 crew to the moon and safely back. She also helped to bring the stranded astronauts on Apollo 13 back to Earth. Some of her calculations were so long and complex that she had to stand on a ladder, starting her equations at the top of a huge blackboard near the ceiling and working her way down to the floor. After her husband died, Katherine cared for her girls on her own while working as a full-time human computer for NASA. A few years later, she met and married James Johnson, who supported his wife in her amazing work. Soon, her reputation was so strong that the astronaut John Glenn requested that she double-check all the computer calculated trajectories for his Friendship 7 mission in 1962, where he would be launched into space to orbit the Earth. Katherine remembered him saying, "If she says they're good, then I'm ready to go." As one NASA official said, Katherine literally wrote the textbook on rocket science. She did the calculations for many other important space missions, working for NASA for nearly 30 years until her retirement in 1986. When she was 97, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor in the U.S. by President Obama. Katherine's many achievements are especially extraordinary because at the time of her most pioneering work, the American South was still divided by race. Sorry. Katherine continues to encourage young people, Larry, including her 11 great-grandchildren, to study technology, science, engineering, and math. She keeps her eyes on the stars and her feet firmly on the ground. So, what an amazing woman. And there she is there. I believe, yeah, she's still alive. She says math, it's just there. You're either right or you're wrong. That's what I like to think about it. That's what I like about it. And I think of the quote from Mean Girls. There's a great quote from Mean Girls, if I'm getting it right. Math, it's the same in every language. It's a constant. You know, like 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4 in Africa and China and Japan. It's a universal thing. I think that's the right quote. I don't know where. Okay. Yeah, so math is a beautiful thing. It's the great unifier. I don't know where I'm going with that. Okay, so let's get all philosophical about math. All right. And so another quote. I counted everything. I counted the steps to the road, the steps to the church, the number of dishes and silverware I washed. Anything that could be counted, I did. And so there's a picture of her using the computer. So if you haven't, I'm pretty sure Hidden Figures she's one of the people in Hidden Figures. So I would definitely see that if you have not watched it yet. So tomorrow, our woman of the day will be Dorothy Hodgkin, pioneering chemist and Nobel Prize winner. So let's switch gears, my friends, and get into our story tonight about Dumbo. All right, the story tonight is called Happy to Help. All right. So Dumbo was walking toward his train car, looking forward to a long nap, when suddenly he heard someone shout, "Oh no! My beautiful balloons!" Dumbo looked up. A bunch of colorful balloons were drifting away from a balloon seller. The elephant quickly sprang into action. He flew after the balloons, grabbed the strings with his trunk, and flew back to the ground. "You're the best," the balloon seller said. "Happy to have help." Dumbo continued to make his way toward the train car to take his overdue nap. As he walked, he saw a crowd gathering. Using his trunk, he politely nudged his way in to see what was going on. A little girl stood crying in the middle of the crowd. "I think the poor kid is lost," said a musician. "We must help her, but how?" Dumbo walked over and tapped the girl on the shoulder with his trunk. "Great idea, Dumbo," said the juggler. "You could spot the little girl's mom from above." He picked up the girl and put her on the elephant's back. Dumbo and the little girl flew up above the circus tents. They looked down at the crowds of people. "Mommy, there's my mommy," the girl shouted. Dumbo landed gently. The girl climbed off his back and ran into her mother's arms. "Thank you, Dumbo. Thank you," said the girl's mother. Dumbo was glad to have been able to help. Suddenly, a pie went whizzing by. Dumbo turned to see some circus clowns throwing pink cream pies at one another. They were covered from head to toe. "What a mess," said one of the clowns. "I think it's time for a shower," said another. Dumbo had an idea. He flew over to the water tank and filled his trunk. Then he sprayed water all over the clowns. The clowns laughed as Dumbo rinsed away the gooey pink pie. Then, smiling, Dumbo went off to finally take his long-awaited nap. Well, good for Dumbo for helping all those people. So God bless all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful night tonight. And sweet dreams.